Welcome everyone. Well, actually, not sure if the first part of welcome everyone was caught on tape, but now it is. So, welcome everyone once again to 5 of the week, where we pick five different topics, usually less than five due to time restraints. But now we're trying to stick with five this week, as I mean me and our eternal co-host Neptos. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello. Yeah, we're gonna hop right into it. The last time we spoke was before the SPA finals of 2000, well, rather season 58. Our predictions were that the Ravens would play the Ironmen in the finals. Someone, can't remember which one of us it was, predicted Ravens to win in five. Maybe you. I think it was you. And the
Yeah, I
Ravens
think I
did.
did.
Yeah. And the Ravens did win in five, so congratulations to them and boo-hoo to us in Pittsburgh. But that's in the past now. We have a whole new season with sim number three supposed to happen later today, as we are in Sunday, 12th of December. Yeah, a lot of good signs and some bad signs for other teams who might consider themselves playoff candidates or even title favorites so far this season. After around 12 to 13, 14 games played each. Just a quick 1 or 2 minutes on your expectations for this season for the Oklahoma City Rampage and Magnus Ekström.
Uh, I'm going to stick to last season's prediction. Playoffs is the goal, and I think this season it looks better than last season, even though Koji regressed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Expectations for Magnus were high. After the first couple of sims, it's back to the good old. He is a diva and will never play to his potential. But we will see how he rebounds over the next couple of sims. But
Yeah,
I think it's going to be an interesting season up top, nonetheless.
yeah. I think a more muted expectation suits any team better, but especially the Rampage after last season's missing the playoffs narrowly in the end. This year, if the sides are set to a similar standard and you guys maybe get to 60 wins, then you look much better come the end of the season. So it's always under promise and over deliver rather than over promise and under deliver. So I'm liking this direction so far. Yeah, in my eyes, the Rampage do look better, obviously, with Lundell and Vellano improving, Ekstrom improving. Well, and, well, improving in the TP chart at least. Um, so far, rather underwhelming start for Ekstrom with a dip in true shooting percentage, with a whole lot of less inside or 2 point makes compared to last season. But it probably begs evening out throughout the season, since there's still 5/6 of the season to go for Ekstrom and the Oklahoma City Rampage. A quick check in as well for the Pittsburgh Ironmen, who from last season's heroic number one seed with zero freak players have now completely turned it all around with three freak players in the starting lineup, with the first overall selection in the SPA entry draft, Rauta Perse playing center, and Peyton Wright, formerly of Brooklyn Bullets, and I think a bunch of other teams, Houston Ravens, Colorado Chiefs. Even played with him in the Milwaukee Maulers, I think. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, maybe his first season I did. And then he was traded to Colorado in an effort to bring back Kelly and McMahon. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that could be. That could be.
yeah. And then Scott Henry, Ollie Carl Carter. Wow, I never want to say that name again. I'm just gonna call him Scott Carter instead of the other stuff, or Shock. That's obviously more familiar for people. Another point guard freak, also from Houston, now in his fourth year with Cassandra Frost once again leading the Offense and Kazunari Takao from Colorado joining us in free agency. Our first non-inactive free agent signing in my general managerial tenure so far. So good looks all around. Yeah, the Pittsburgh Army started so far 7-5, with the first team being nearly catastrophical with no um, uh, scoring touch whatsoever. Every other player, every player excluding Takao, extremely underperformed their true shooting from their career numbers and expected numbers for the season in the first sim, but a good bounce back in sim number 2 with 5 wins and 1 loss to the Arizona Inferno. So, yeah.
Is 63% for Frost that big of a dip? I mean, it's lower than last season's, but it's still well above Frost's career average.
And no, I just meant in
Like
the
not
first
like
sim.
first season.
Yeah, in the first sim it was 604 after the first sim.
Oh, right. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, and for right it was 591, which is once again well down. But now it's looking much steadier and obviously picked up a lot of wins with that more steady statistical resume. But yeah, I'm not sure what to expect so far. If the season continues to go up and down like this, it's gonna look much worse when it's time for playoff seeding. But I also don't expect it to go up and down like this because it's quite rare for anything in the SBA to go up and down like that. So just feels like the sim number 1 was the blip that some teams might get in sim number 11 or 12 or 9 typically. Yes. Then for our actual fives of the week, I guess we just went by the first bit of business there with. I'm just gonna type this down real quick. Intros and check in. Oh, sorry for the clacking of the keyboard. I didn't realize it wasn't filtered out in the microphone settings. Anyways, Milwaukee Maulers, 8 or 9 seasons removed from their last playoff berth, are flying high currently, 12-1 in their first 13 games. Their competition so far has been so and so, which might play into their overall record come the end of the season, but they do have 30-point wins, or rather a 30-point win against the Houston Ravens to make them 8-0 on the season. Then they also beat the Inferno and the Thunderbirds. But other than that, they've had slightly below average competition with a lot of teams such as the Wild Battalion and then Bullets twice already, it seems like. So yeah, they do have a very talented starting lineup though. So there's no denying that they have used Robotastic Prime the second as their starting point guard again, and then they have Hollywood at the 2, Marshall and Matthias at the forward positions, and then Mekai Jankunas as the. That's a very American pronunciation, isn't it? Mekai Jankunas, as he's supposed to be Lithuanian. Anyway, at their starting center after 8 years in San Diego, Jankunas now plays for Milwaukee and looks regressed, but looks like Jankunas nonetheless. What do you think about the Maulers of season 59?
I mean, prior to the season, I expected them to finally break their postseason drought. I think they have the second longest in the league. Or did they went to the playoffs even after the Chiefs did?
Season 50, I think, was the last time for Milwaukee.
So on par with the Chiefs. And
Yes.
I don't remember when the Wild last went to the playoffs, but I think it was after season 50. Maybe the Monarchs can challenge them on that one, but regardless of the postseason run, I think they have the talent to definitely make it in this season. I don't know if they're going to be a contender in the end. I still see some weak spots in their game. They've had a hot start for sure and showed against Houston that they can hang with the top, at least at home. Um, but I like that they have finally some good defense on the court. They focused a lot on this part in the off season, and it's paying off for them for sure.
Yeah, and even more, the Maulers have, I would say, a top three offensive group of players. Like their group of players should be something like top three on offense as well. So
I
they,
don't know. I see a lot that I dislike, especially for Robo Prime, for example. I don't think he's going to keep up those percentages or gets even close to those percentages when we come to the end of the season.
mm-hmm.
Um, he will fall off there, and yeah, I've had my struggles with like these mid-level athletics, high volume type of players that we've seen every now and then. So I don't know if I would rank them top three in offense just yet. But I mean, on the wings, they have a top three offense for sure.
Yeah. Or are you like specifically pointing out Prime as mid-level athletics or the
I
other
think
players as well?
Matthias and Jankunas also sort of fall in that category.
Yeah,
I mean, Jankunas wasn't very efficient for, at
most
least
of
in
his
my eyes,
career.
not as efficient as he could have been
Yeah.
over the course of his career because of a lack of athletics. Um, he did reach the point where TPE cancels everything out and became a pretty good offensive player for the last couple of seasons and will be still decent today. But if you throw him at a Grant Thompson, for example, Thompson's going to eat him up. So in comparison,
Yeah.
and I think that's a big difference when the playoffs comes around because Shadow Shield doesn't have the team, but someone like Thompson, I don't see Milwaukee even be close to matching that firepower down low.
Mm. Yeah. It is interesting. And I suppose if they can rely on mostly 3-point shooting and then open shots from 2-point range, then Matthias and Jankunas can get sort of up to the expected standard through the season, but it is after 90, it is very expensive each time you want to go up a step in an attribute. So maybe it is doable through the season, but yeah, it could in the end well be just like a regular season offense type of thing where you beat up on all the teams that are bad or mediocre, but then at the highest of high levels, maybe you don't have the horses to run. But I do like Bryant Marshall the second and Demetrius Hollywood a lot as offensive players. So it's just a shame that they are in playing the positions that they are at the moment, since it's like obviously the go between of having most of the ball and having the best percentages, since they are shooting guard and small forward at the current setup. But it will remain interesting, and hopefully they can keep up their massive winning numbers, because it's of course always refreshing to see the top teams kind of shake about, so that it's not always the same 7 teams at the top 10. Rather have some
Don't like
maulers.
seeing Houston off top every season.
Yeah, some things are inevitable, but it is what it is. Um, Another team that's flying extremely high and is still currently undefeated, albeit with only 10 games played so far this season, is the Miami Vice. Um, well, thankfully I caught myself there. The Vice are um, maybe less less of a comparable situation to the Maulers, since they have a lot of players coming in this season. their entire starting lineup, I think. Yes. And they also have played possibly a little stronger of competition. Well, they do have games against the Rush here and the Wild as well. But they also beat the Aviators at Charlotte. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think beside that, their schedule hasn't been the strongest.
Yeah. Maybe I'm kind of misrepresenting some of the teams here, like the Knights and the Wild. They've played the Wild 2 times, the Rush once. And there's the Ocelots, but the Ocelots are also somewhat up and down as always. So
Yeah,
yeah. Anyways, their
few playoff teams so far.
yeah, their squad for the season is John Hill and 3 and D as point guards. Then Benson Echenam at the shooting guard position. Blade Thorn, a rookie from um, Adrest, no, traded from Boston.
Yes, it's Atras. It's his
Yeah,
former GM player.
yeah, former. No, I think he's still a GM and it's still a
He is a
player.
GM,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
a player.
Yeah, it's
Let's
not
phrase it
under
like
his control anymore. Yeah, Blade Thorn at the 3, then Brian Kowalski at the 4, and Dallas Broker and Modi Musi playing the center, mostly Broker, of course, but Musi with an outside shot to be one of the best reserves in the league this season, which is kind of rare for a rookie player, in my opinion. What do you think about this roster makeup compared to, say, the Maulers there, or what you'd prefer as ideal? They do have the same sort of athletics levels for most of their players, but also players like 3 and D, it's more carefully managed with 20 jumping and 20 strength rather than being somewhere in the 70s, for example.
I mean, with 3 and D, his build is this classic supportive guard build. Doesn't take a lot of shots, mostly 3-pointers when he takes them. So I'm not that worried about him having no athletics in the rest. That's totally fine because he isn't actively taking shots away from the main scorers or the better scorers. Um, I, s- I think it's a great haul for Miami for what they started the offseason with to field this team right now. I am sort of a fan of Kowalski, even though he's fairly low on TPE, but
Yeah.
he can be a decent secondary scoring option next to Brucker for the season.
Yeah, I thought he was the
And
best free agent this past offseason.
yeah, but Engine got him to Miami, and I think Brucker is still, even though he is inactive at this point, he's top 10, top 15 in TPE, and it's showing on the court. He is the main guy together with Ben for the season. Ben will have the opportunity to lay up big stats, so I would like him to push a bit more on the athletics front finally to truly make him
Don't
elite.
give championship contenders any good ideas.
I'm not sure if even if he upgrades it, if there will be championship contenders
Yeah,
in
but
the
I
league.
would as well go for 90 jumping and 90 strength and then work from there even further.
Yeah, it's going to take him to a new level. I don't know if he can manage it for this season. Probably not. Maybe
Mm.
one of those athletics, if he listens here. But so far, he's had a great start, even with his comparably lower athletics, and he's one of the many guys that have the chance for a triple double average. So definitely someone to watch out for.
Yeah, for Dallas Brocker, it's interesting that he's kind of flown around teams that are of sort of this similar caliber since leaving Philadelphia with that one
Yeah,
finals appearance in Toronto, then another season in Toronto and Boston, and now Miami. Do you think there could be anything there that maybe this team is once again another mirage and maybe doesn't have the juices in the end or at the highest level? Or is this TPE environment of today more suitable for teams like this where it's actually H&M and Rocker.
I think it's I think it's one of those teams where they will have a good run in the playoffs, like the Thunderbirds did, but they are not really contenders in my book. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Rucker in this current environment. He's at the perfect TPE level for what he provides as a first or secondary scoring option, even though he's lacking a bit on the jumping side to be a high volume scorer. Um, but back to your point, I think it certainly benefits teams like the Vice, but not enough for them to compete for the chip in the end against the true top teams.
Yeah.
Or are you fearing them as the finals players of the season?
Um, it is difficult to say so far because there's once again the caveat of schedule to start the season. Uh, After about 40 games, there's still a what's the word? Negligible opposition for them to have to face, since they have a lot of rail, bullets, monarchs. I was about to say rampage, but the rampage are now good. Then maybe just before the All-Star break, it starts to pick up with big road trip, but the opposition on the road trip once more is Rail, Jokers, Prowlers, Jokers, then Minutemen at home, then Rampage, Maulers, and Rush. And that should be just about where the All-Star break happens, I think. So I think they have either it's spread out so well that I can like read a clear pattern in their schedule, or then it's all pushed on the back end of the season so far for them. It looks like on the latter parts they have. Well, yeah, well, I guess it's sort of balanced. So maybe they could look excellent in the regular season, and if the some hidden moral factors or the cohesion props up very quickly with a lot of wins. I don't think that's a thing, but maybe if it happens so, they could do much better than anticipated in the AP numbers, even with their 10-0 start. Their top five is averaged out at 884 AP, which is only is this 10th best. 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 10th best. So they're definitely on theoretically on the level of teams such as Atlanta, Boston, Houston, Charlotte, even the aforementioned Milwaukee Maulers. But they could be in the standings at least. Not sure about the playoffs, but they could be in the standings, like in the upper tier or the top tier of teams that's gonna maybe even get a bye round, which is very typical Miami stuff in the past.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Engine also has a record as a great head coach for
Yeah, as
the
being a
Ruhr Valley,
nerd,
and then the
I love nerds
rumored
though. So
rumored influence on the Pittsburgh Ironman.
yeah,
Um, so definitely to have on the radar if you're our top team, but I still think that they miss a little step to become truly elite.
yeah. This sort of feels like what the Seattle Knights had some seasons ago when Sixers decided to return to general manager stuff, where the entire roster is made over from scratch, and maybe it lacks the final punch of not having Serrano or Freedom or um, who won the MVP of that season specifically, season 53 was it? It was
Oh,
Serrano.
50. Yeah, I think it was Serrano after Jaws in 52, 53,
Yeah,
54, something like
yeah.
that.
So they then didn't have players of like the top caliber in Seattle, but maybe in this lower TP environment with less and less players in their prime and rather in on rookie contracts or in years 1 to 4, maybe you don't need the
Superstars that
yeah, the
eats away.
superstar
Yeah.
powerhouse, yeah. But then again, Houston is still there with a roster makeup that is exactly like it was almost last season, and they have the superstar powerhouse. It's difficult to say. I just wish for the Aviators that I already was a superstar powerhouse, so I could be worth the money. But well, yeah, this week I'm gonna have strength in 99, so
99. Oh,
basically
that's
I'm
pretty
gonna
good.
be that's as much of a powerhouse as you can be. Not sure about the superstar part yet, but that's at least gonna be the powerhouse part taken care of. Anyways, we look forward to what the Maulers and Vice season shake out to be, but I still do expect the Ravens and Aviators or Vipers sort of teams to be at the top of their respective divisions rather than Milwaukee and Miami. But I would be excited. I like Miami, always like Miami. Not, I kind of like Miami less now, but that's just because I hold my former partnerships with Mr. Splashman very dearly, rather than Engine, who I haven't worked with in almost any capacity whatsoever. So, and the players on the Miami team right now are not very uh, familiar with me or the users behind them. Anyways, let's move on. Last season's point guard of the year, Cassandra Frost, is once again facing stiff competition, not only from former point guard of the year winner Pablo da Silva Taylor, but also players such as Wolf and who were we talking about earlier? Diego Armando Campazzo, Oleg Piton, who was
He
third
was
in
second team last season.
second team, yeah, yeah,
He was
because
second team.
the Silva Taylor fell off a little, and then also Seth Vellano. Don't think I'm missing anyone there now. Yeah, Frost's last season's numbers: 23 points per game, 8.2 rebounds per game, 11.6 assists, and 2.8 steals with 639 through shooting. This season, the offensive load has improved dramatically by 6 field goal attempts per game and a usage rate of 31.6 compared to 25.6 last year, which has shown in an uptick in the points column as well. So this season so far, Frost is at 31.3 points per game, 8.6 rebounds per game, but only 9.4 assists per game, which is interesting as the other players on the team, such as Scott Carter and Takao and Wright, are all capable 3 point shooters. So I suppose the offense is a lot of self created stuff so far rather than getting it out to anyone who will shoot. But it is interesting. The most notorious competition obviously is Pablo da Silva Taylor of Atlanta Vipers, who is also sitting pretty at around 30 points per game, nearly 10 rebounds per game, and 9.6 assists per game. But yeah, what do you rate as the chances that the winner will be someone else than um, Frost or Taylor or the Silva Taylor? Excuse me.
I would go to like 1% because there's always a chance someone has a crazy season. But I don't think
It's still a very
anyone
low
is
number, yeah.
to really barge into this race. I was surprised when I saw Frost on shooting guard in the preseason because I thought she would try to repeat as at point guard, especially with Adekoya still in his prime and kicking and shooting guard for Toronto. So definitely the front runner to me.
Yeah.
And with Taylor, his biggest thing, he's going to have a shot at a triple-double average this season with the loss of some talent or regression of some talent, rather, for Atlanta. And it's for him, it's all about keeping the turnovers lower than they are currently, because 5.2 turnovers per game won't win you an award. You're pretty much shooting yourself out of that in comparison to someone like Frost. But beside them, I have a hard time seeing anyone really crack this race because both will have 30 points, 10 assists, good amount of rebounds, and there isn't any point guard that's close to replicating that.
Wolf has, through his career, had notoriously low turnover numbers, even with 80 handling only. This season, 11.2 assists to 3.5 turnovers per game. What do you think could be the cause of this in the SBA sense? And do you think it plays any favors to him in the value and metrics in general?
I think for Wolf, it's mainly that he started scoring more. He now has the ball in his hands a lot more, not just to distribute, like for the first couple of seasons where he mainly was free and pass guy in the offense of the Wolverines, but now he's tasked with a lot more scoring than before, and it shows on the turnover side because I don't think his turnover percentage went up a whole lot.
No, it's only gone
Maybe,
down
yeah, probably even going
compared
down,
to the
but
usage, yeah, because more
just
usage,
his usage
yeah.
went up so much that his total increased. I still suspect him to increase a bit more on the turnovers per game. So I don't know if it will stay at 3.5. Otherwise, it would be crazy efficient for the volume he's putting up right now.
Yeah.
And in some years, it might have been. I'm thinking of like the first point guard of the year award of Shaka Banks, which was not a great season where you would be like, hey, that's surefire point guard of the year.
Mm-hmm.
In such a year, he could win the award with his deadline currently. But this season, with those 30-point triple double or close to triple double guys with similar defensive capabilities, he is a very, very small dark horse chance. Dark horse chance.
Yeah, I see. Um, Last season's numbers for Wolf as well, 11.7 assists per game and 3.1 turnovers per game, which equates to 3.81 assist to turnover ratio. I'm just gonna check real quick since I know Chris Paul has the NBA record for X amount of games played and assist to turnover ratio, which is obviously anyone who knows Chris Paul knows he almost never turns the ball over and might have some amazing assist to turnover ratios once I just find them. Maybe they changed maybe they made it more difficult to find with the change to being stat head subscriber rather than just looking at the basketball reference page. Anyways, generally Chris Paul has a turnover percentage of 13 and an assist percentage of 45.3 for his career. Whereas Wolf right now is at 13 turnover percentage for his career, so similar numbers there, and only 40.8 assist percentage. So yeah, it's getting there. I really like how Wolf is doing, and if I was at this position, I probably wouldn't update any of my attributes just to make sure not to fuck over the sim luck you're getting. Uh, I'd say just bank until you regress and enjoy the fruits of your labor. After 3 seasons of updating, you're already one of the 5 best point guards in the league, so no worries there. But yeah, when you said that you were surprised to see Takao starting at point guard and Frost the shooting guard instead, that made me go and see at the prediction data so far for the season. They are going to lock after today. There's a lot of holes still in the predictions so far made by anyone or made by the users of the SBA. For example, it still has or shows Scott Carter as the most predicted player to win Sixth Man of the Year award, which
You guys might want to change that.
actually I'm gonna cut this off the video because if I can make 23 people lose their entire lose an entire DP, that's fine by me. But no, I don't have any plans to use him off the bench rather than in the starting capability, especially now that the minutes are capped in the depth chart, and I like my best players playing the most minutes possible. And I don't think they could play the most minutes possible if they're capped to playing, is it 30 or 32 minutes in the depth chart? So no way there. Other than that, the prediction data shows quite a clear cut all SBA first team with Adekoya getting a landslide 39 votes, Robinson getting 41 for small forward, Shadow Shield and Thompson once more being the power forward and center of the European years. But the predictions do point out that Diego Armando Campazzo has the constituency with 20 predicted wins to Frost's 23 predicted wins. So I'm just gonna take a moment here to check out Campazzo. Campazzo is now starting at point guard indeed for the Mexico City Ocelots with 25.9 points per game. Something crazy like 11.2 rebounds per game. Let's see here. Yeah, 11.2 and 11.8 assists per game and 3.1 steals to boot. This obviously reaches a stat line that's not gonna last. What do you think?
I don't know. I could see him complete it. I mean,
26,
as I said,
11, and 12, and 3 steals. That's like one of the best seasons.
I think that could be sustainable with the ways the slots are looking as
Yeah,
a team. I mean, we have this totally crazy situation right now in the league, where the lack of talent means that especially rebounds and assists are at an all-time high together on one person. And as a course of this, we have several guys this season who could really average a triple-double,
yeah.
even with a lot of points, not just the MV3 triple-double with like 11 points per game. And I think Campazzo is one of them, and he could very well end the season with an average around that. I think what won't make him win the point guard of the year here is his turnover numbers and his shooting efficiency compared
Yeah.
to someone like Frost. That's going to be the killer for him, but I think the stat line can be held up.
Mm. Especially if the 3 point percentage even creeps up to the the high 30s, like 37 or 38 even, which is Campazzo's career average, then that would mean an efficiency bump of like just over 600, 607 around there. So even if that wouldn't make him point guard of the year caliber in this race with the Silva, Taylor, and Frost, it would still look excellent on Campazzo's resume to have 26, 11, and 11 with around or above 3 steals and like league average true shooting percentage for your position. So I'd be happy for Campazzo to reach those numbers and hopefully look to build on that once he enters his actual prime afterwards. But we're gonna move on from the point guard discussion. Just quickly taking a look at the rookie of the year discussion, there's been a campaign by Kevin Durant's doctor in the SBA Discord of how in the heck do you guys think Rauta Perse is gonna keep up these numbers? It's obviously Shabazz Serrano that's gonna win the Rookie of the Year award. Alas, no one so far has predicted Shabazz Serrano to win the Rookie of the Year award, not even the good doctor himself. So I think we're just
And
gonna
for good
move.
reason.
Hmm?
And for good reason.
And for good reason, yeah. So we're just gonna move on past that topic and look at the real contenders who are, in my view, Rauta Perse. Then you have Steve Latimer. Then you kinda maybe have which of the Zamora brothers is it?
Sisters.
Zana. The
Brothers,
sisters,
sisters.
yeah. Yeah, excuse me. I'm not which
I don't see
which
them
which
really.
one is Kermskis?
Anita is the point guard, Sana is the freak shooting guard, so
All right, so Zana is flex. So Zana is the more popular
yeah.
one because has more points. Yeah, all right. For whatever reason. So yeah, there could be some outside contenders of the Zamora sisters. Then maybe Marcus Vincent or Blade Thorn, or maybe even
Marcus is totally missing defense, so probably not.
yeah. This is like I said, outside contenders. I think it like if the Zanieta, if the rebounds and assists continue to grow over the season and the steals stay at or above 3 per game, there's a lot of value there. But then if you have a player like Latimer who has, let's just say, like 1.7 steals per game and 2.3 blocks per game to end the season with more scoring and more rebounding and even some
Even
passing.
a couple of assists.
Yeah. Then that kind of uh, leans towards Latimer because you have a more diverse game and you have the added benefit of higher shooting efficiency as a big and more blocks to almost no blocks by Sanieta. And then again, you have the most predicted winner with 29 votes to Latimer's 18, Rauta Perse, who's started off. Um, let's just get to the. Started off the season by playing 38.6 minutes per game at the center position for the Ironman. Much was made about the 2.5 or 2.4 steals per game that Raut Perse had in the preseason, which obviously with 70 stealing and 70 quickness
Is a
was
bit of
not
an
bound to
over.
last. Yeah, but it's obviously not also going to be 0.2 or 0.3 or 0.4. It's probably going to be more closer in the 1.2 to 1.7 range if all things go as lucky as they can. And if I do something silly on our team strategy, which I'm probably not gonna sacrifice just to get a few still. Hey, now I know how you guys feel. Yeah. When I was whining about the steals numbers of having 99 steal for my entire career on Freedom, but never getting good steals numbers. Now I know how you guys feel.
We could have bent over the whole game plan to get 3 or more
Yeah,
steals,
but if
but
you weren't, then it's all right. It just so happened that with the teams I was on with JJ Harklewood, I suppose whoever was running the teams felt that half trap, and 7 to 10 full court press was the best defense you could use, and that's why I had like 3.3 steals per game. So maybe I was felt a little too comfortable after those massive steal seasons in on the
I
previous
mean,
player there.
if it helps your mind, I had 95 steal for almost the entirety of Maeda's career. Guess how many times he cracked 3 steals per game?
Two?
None.
Oh,
He
that's
didn't
much
have a
better.
single season above 3. He had like 2.9, I think, in his
Did
best
you
defensive season.
did you play like 43 minutes a game through your prime, or was it like more like 41?
41. He had an
Hmm.
80 fouling cap, so
Yeah, that's probably a lot of steals taken away there through your career. Let's see here. Maeda in season 53, was it your last season?
54 was the last one for the battalion.
Okay. And we're gonna get back to Rautapers and finish off after I'm after I
After the
finished
export.
making fun, yeah, after I'm finished making fun of Maeda's. No, it says what 54. Where did you play in 54 then?
Battalion.
Oh yeah, on the bench or something.
On the battalion for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, so career averages of only 40 minutes per game compared to some of the players that I've had who, well, because I always get my fouling to 95 or 99 very early, I always average more closer to 44 minutes through my career than 40 minutes. That was also a point I made with Shark when he was on the Corsairs. You remember? I don't know if you remember this, but we he played 2 seasons more than I did, I think, because his player was still went inactive and was bounced around. What's his name?
Darkstrong, you mean?
No, the player next who played most of his time on the Corsairs.
Firna Mokaran.
Yeah, yeah, Spirna Makaran. Yeah. So I think in the end, Makaran ended up playing less minutes than my player in 2 seasons more because he was fucked around by someone on the team's strategy and depth charts trying to be really cute, playing him only 22 minutes a game in
Yeah.
his year 4 or something like that, and then also maybe having less fouling, obviously, than I would have had. So that was a definite eye opener then. So yeah, I don't suggest anyone having 80 fouling ever.
I mean, it can work. It's not like Maeda was the worst player in the league with his fouling cap, and even the great point guard Alex Calderon had 80 fouling, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but the great point guard Alex Calderon also met his
Fouled out a lot.
demise. Yeah, met his demise quite often, and maybe even fucked the Ravens out of 2 championships more with his 80 fouling. So yeah, indeed, but also.
It's no death sentence, but it's certainly still
Yeah,
not
and
good.
after your career, once you look at the stat sheet and your like history and impact on the SBA, like if you have multiple seasons where you play a lot less or even less than your contemporaries, it's just gonna seem weird. Maybe it's because of the strategy, or maybe it is because of your fouling caps, or maybe it is because of this and that. But obviously, in like a cumulative fashion, you'd like to get more and most out of everything you do. So that's at least the way I look at it, rather than maximizing this here and there is there's probably pros and cons to both. But yeah, about Rata start to the season, I'm just gonna mark this down here. Um, invaded by previous player. Yeah. So far, 18 points per game on 61.7 true shooting, which I figure is only gonna go up from here. Actually, it's probably gonna be closer to 630 because he is 7-2 and has good or sort of on their way attributes. 6.3 rebounds, 2.3 assists, which are just regular starting pick, 35 passing, and 3.2 blocks. I don't think 3.2 is too much or too little, but I could see it dropping off as well. But depending on how Rauta Persa goes about this season and it updating his defense or offense, these numbers could still look a little different from now to the end of the season. Yeah. Who do you think?
Even
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't update, he will still have a pretty good rookie season, playing efficient offense, giving some good, at least numbers defensively, and playing on a winning team. So, lot in his favor, even if he would stop updating from next week on, which I don't suppose he will.
Yeah, after having paid for the entire season, it would be pretty weird. Yeah. Uh, do you think players like Rauta Persa should? This is a question that I've had about my players or my player and my new player. But yeah, no, I fucked it up. Do you think players like Rauta Persa should have a 3-point shot or passing? You were here actually when we did when I answered this question. Or do you think they'd rather just focus on the inside scoring aspect of the game? Or do you think one has benefits over the other? Because you have players like Jaws who had 3-point shooting, and then you also have other kinds of players like Hawkins and Serrano who had and had not more shooting range, but were still excellent offensively and defensively.
I mean, I'm a bit on the fence. I'm personally a big fan of great scoring bigs that don't have their passing because you are by far the most efficient player on the court. Why should you look to pass the ball? Makes no sense to me. You want the ball in this person's hands to put up the points. Don't let the ball leave after uh, you've got it down low. But I think with the 3-point shot, it's especially for guys like Jaws who, even when they have a 3-point shot, take like 1, 2, maybe 3 at max 3-pointers per game. It's more of a volume raiser in general than a real impact on your 3-point shot will now make because you now are hitting 40% from there. Oh wow, that's still not a whole lot, but it increases your volume as a offensive player in general, and I think that's the ceiling raiser that you might need when you get into your later stages of the career, and maybe we have a environment again where you have contending teams with 3 prime guys, 4 prime guys, all competing for the touches, and then you will need that 3-point shot. Otherwise, I think you are perfectly fine just pounding the paint, focusing on your athletics, on a bit of insight, and maybe a bit of jump shot to balance it out. And that's all you need. No need to diversify in that regard.
Yeah. Obviously, by the time these build suggestions or ideas that we have here now will come true for some players, the SBA landscape has once again changed. Because if you start now building a player or are in the first or second year of your player and start thinking about what you want to be in year 6, year 7, by the time you are in year 6, year 7, the other players around you are once again different. So this is very specific to this current time. But yeah, it does make sense what you said there. All right, should that be all? Yes, says the clock.
Quick question, quick answer.
Yes. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to use a donation week next week because I still have to do one this week. Maybe better to do so in the last week of the regular season because by that time, maybe the talking points are a lot drier. And next
Did
week,
you buy
we.
a free week?
What?
Because if you only bought premium, that doesn't come with a free week anymore. You know?
Hey? Let's see
We
here.
had some changes to premium for the season, I think.
Yes.
That you only get double
Oh,
sweep
yeah.
system on standard premium, unless
I
you
thought it
purchase.
was an added option rather than reworking the $10 one. But yeah, it does make sense then. Yeah, sure.
It's just 5 for the double week, but you can buy 5 for a free week, obviously.
Yes. Yes. All right. Then it does make sense. Anyway, next week, regardless of what I would have chosen or what the donation system would be, next week we will have a lot more data to go about our topics of the day of maulers, wise, point guard race, and other teams at the top. So couldn't miss next week, but maybe when there's 70 games played, and only waiting for the playoffs to begin, sort of thing, then it would have been a good time to pass up on it. But yeah, anyway, it's now 3 minutes since I said we're gonna stop, so we're just gonna bid you all goodbye, and goodbye from Netto.
Goodbye. I hope you enjoyed it. Now Oko can finally go into the sauna like
Yeah.
a good Finnish person.
Yeah, I'm going in 43 minutes. I am going. Yeah, nice. this wasn't something Netto knew beforehand, but anyway, he in his hardest of hearts he knew. But yeah, and thanks for everyone for listening / watching. Not that there's anything ever to watch, but anyway, see you all again next week.